Belichick's lost a step to me. I'm not going to do this.
This is Anik Squared.
It is Wednesday, November 29th, 2023, week 13 of the NFL. What am I doing here is the question. It is season 2, episode 13, week 13, Anik Squared. My name is Jason Anik, joined by the voice of the UFC, my identical twin brother, Jon Anik, and a special guest today. I'm happier to see this man, Big Ron Pellegrino, Big Ron Betts. We'll start with you. What's up, Big Ron?
What's up, Jason? How are you doing, sir? You could be sitting here doing the exact same thing, but as you alluded, you decided not to come to Vegas. So.
Well, Ron Pellegrino is one of my favorite people, even though I only met him in 2023. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, it's great to see you. We are here in Las Vegas. I mean, we'll set the scene a little bit. There's a little bit of a delay. And anyone who listens to the Anik and Florian podcast on the Draftkings network knows that I'm a stickler for technical stuff. I do have my headset right here. I will put it on for the picks later, but I am here at the Virgin Hotel. I'm not going to tell you the suite number, and it is some top secret business as to why I'm here and not in Austin, Texas with the Ultimate Fighting Championship this weekend. But it's great to be here for Anik Squared, presented by Draftkings and Toyo Tires. We are at this unbelievably gracious man's palatial suite here at the Virgin. I know it's not yours, but you're borrowing it. And we are ready to go. Before we get into the NFL stuff, I just want to say, Ron and I just had the privilege to watch, Jason, some of your post-fight interviews from Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship 6, I believe it was. And I just have to say, absolutely outstanding work. Your hair looks fantastic on television. I don't even think your wife would suggest otherwise. And I will say you set a record, right? In this era where we're trying to be efficient, less is more on television, you set a record that I would love to own. The most efficient post-fight interview. 2 words. What's next?
All right. I appreciate it. It was fun, more comfortable in the octagon than describing jiu-jitsu outside the octagon, but I did more wrong inside the cage than I did right on the microphone, but it was fun. I appreciate it.
You looked like you were having fun.
It was a blast. Speaking of having fun, John, so you did Adam Shine's podcast this week. And for those of you who don't know who Adam Shine is, I meant to start our show today. How are you? Because that's how he does to all his guests. I couldn't be a bigger fan of Adam Shine. If you're watching this show, stop doing it and go follow Adam Shine if you're an NFL fan. John, you would attest. I hope you had fun. I haven't listened back yet.
Yeah, a lot of talk about the NFL and a lot of talk about Mac Jones. It's sort of interesting, and it was something I was going to get to later when I picked the Chargers over the Patriots in my 5. Spoiler alert, right? Spoiler alert. We'll see if we get
Killjoy.
there, right? But yeah, Chargers minus 5.5 is going to be a play for me against New England. But no, it seems as though because we've been hammering Mac Jones a little bit that people are booking me when he does poorly on their nationally syndicated radio shows. So to be known now maybe a little bit as like one of these anti-Mac Jones, like I'm at the forefront of the anti-Mac Jones campaign. I can't say there's no Mac Jones clothing in my house. Like my wife has a Mac Jones sweatshirt. We'll figure out what to do with it. Maybe the Salvation Army or Goodwill, perhaps.
Yeah, well, but if you're the vice president of that Mac Jones fan or anti-fan club, you can be sure I'm the president. And I know I don't have as big a profile as Jon Anik, but you can be sure I've been talking about this since he was drafted ad nauseum. But we don't need to go on and on about that. How's Vegas, boys? What's going on? Putting something in the air out there?
It's just great to be here. Great to be back at the Virgin, this unbelievably just scintillating property that's been completely revamped. We're very excited. I did a deep dive on the NFL on the airplane, so I feel particularly prepared today. But my mood sort of ebbs and flows with how we're doing in the contest in the last 3 weeks. You know, the hashtag is not too well. So we got to get back to business. We almost have put ourselves in a position where we need 9 wins in our next 10, and that's not at all where you want to be in week 13.
Put ourselves in a position irrelevant. We're not even in the contest anymore. Yeah.
Can we submit our picks still this week or no?
Well, I believe some of those in-season contests, there's a new in-season contest beginning now. But anyway, before we make our selections, talk about week 13, let's look back at week 12, get right to our first segment. Ron can join us. Tire and Ice presented by Toyo Tires. Football fans, the NFL season is coming down the stretch, and as usual, it's wide open. Nothing guaranteed for players, coaches, or even us, the fans. For these teams, if you want to get into the postseason and make a run, you got to get there safely. Safety certainly the priority of the whole team at Toyo Tires. So when it comes to ensuring a smooth journey, no better route than a quick slant to ToyoTires.com. Whether you're tackling the rugged mountains of Denver or cruising the streets of LA, Toyo Tires has you covered. With options like their open country tires for tough terrains or the smooth Celsius Sports for city driving, you can ride with confidence and zero regrets, backed by their 500-mile or 45-day trial. This holiday season, embrace the freedom of the open road. Visit ToyoTires.com to locate a dealer near you. Toyo Tires, open roads await. All right, gentlemen. So, Ron, bear with us. So, head-to-head, Week 12. We'll get to the contest in a minute, John. As usual, you got to get out in front of it. You can't just wait. But head-to-head, 2-3 for you, Week 12, 3-2 for me. You can laugh, Ron. You can laugh all you want.
Listen.
So, 2-3 for this cat, 3-2 for me. So I now have a 4-game lead after going 3-2. Not that big. But you need a week here where you pick up a couple games, John. You're 3 games over 500, 31.5 and 28.5. I am 35.5 and 24.5. I don't know, man. I turned in a lot of noise during the Thanksgiving week. Big mistake. I think our theme was not playing the Thursday games in the Super Contest. Before we talk about your 5, what do you guys got to say?
Well, it's one thing to not submit our picks for a Thursday night game in week number 7, right? And if you don't know the way the Super Contest works, if you're submitting on that Thursday game and it's one of your 5, you got to submit all 5 selections on that Wednesday night or Thursday morning, right? And we don't do that to allow the week to marinate, to allow the injury reports to come out and all of that. But this year, not only did you have 3 games on Thanksgiving Day, but you also had a game on Black Friday. So if you don't submit your picks early, you take 4 games off of the slate. And the exercise is hard enough landing on 5 games. Never mind, you take 4 of them off the damn board.
And I have to say, for those of you maybe joining us for the first time, God forbid you haven't tuned in already. But each week we pick 5 games against the spread. We go against each other. Our ultimate goal being to narrow down our 5 selections. We have a joint entry in the Westgate Las Vegas Super Contest. 5 games against the spread every week. Winner gets $1 million. The last place finisher gets $100,000. So let's just quickly talk about our picks. Your 5 selections against me in Week 12. Saints +1 is a loss. That was against the Falcons. Browns +1.
That's one hate.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, listen to
this a lot this year, so I don't know if that's your fault or his fault for pointing it out.
He's bad, Anik. You know that. So your second selection.
I gave you one. I gave one for you. Now I'm back on his side.
All right. So Browns +1.5 at the Broncos. That was a loss, actually, head-to-head against me. Your third selection, the Jets +10. I mean, we should rewind the tape and listen to your breakdown last week. Really sharp there. And then the Bills +3.5. You won. Thank God you got the 3.5. That was a bad beat. Anyone really on the Bills +3. We'll get to that. We were on the Bills +3 in the contest. You had them +3.5 on our show. And then your final hit, Giants +3.5. So you hit the Bills +3.5, Giants +3.5. So that was your 2 and 3. Any poetic you want to wax on any of that?
So you get all sort of antagonistic when you talk about the Bills +3.5. Most of these sharp people out there who played Buffalo, and I got hurt playing the Bills money line as well. But most people who had a Bills ticket got one at 3.5 early in the week. Maybe I shouldn't give that much credit to the sports betting public, but we were on Buffalo early. To take a push in the Super Contest feels like a loss in a lot of respects. But I want to center on the New York Giants against the New England Patriots. I understand the New York Giants fade, full-fledged New York Giants fade. I understand that, right? And even statistically, when you peel back the numbers on the Patriots overall are better than the numbers on the New York Giants. But not only did I see a lot of people, handicappers, sharps, supposed sharps that I trust, offering up the New England Patriots as a play. And this thing went 3.5, 4. Patriots closed 4.5. Giants money line +195. Take me to the window. But a lot of these people were offering up the Patriots as their best bet. And I don't know if I'm saying like, what? Or I'm saying like, hey, man, well, I bet on the Jets and I was pretty convicted too. So this league is fucked.
That's a perfect way of saying it too. Tommy Cutlets. Cutlets good, yeah.
So quickly, my 3 and 2. I lost the Viking. I'm going to wait on the fucking Vikings. I hit the Ravens -3.5. That was lucky with that late touchdown at the Chargers.
Lucky.
Hit the Broncos -1.5 at home hosting the Browns. Broncos country, let's motherfucking ride. Okay. And all that meme, Cody. I like that meme from last week. And then I hit the Cowboys -12.5, which thank God. Do you know what I mean? At least one of those games, but that game was not in our 5. And then I dumped the Texans +1.5. And frankly, I thought the side to bet by Sunday morning was Jacksonville. And then my final loss, Vikings -3.5. Bears don't score a touchdown, they win the game. But I hate saying this, but you can be sure by Monday night, I was hearing a lot of noise about the Bears, and you can be sure I was liking that side. So forget my 5. Let's talk about the contest. We go 1-3-1 in the contest for the second consecutive week. That's 1.5 points in 2 straight weeks, 3 points overall. That's not going to get you anywhere. Let's talk about the 5 real quick. As you alluded to, the Bills +3, which is a push. Really felt unlucky there. We hit the Titans -3.5. So those are our 1.5 points. We lost the Saints -1. Don't even get me started on that. I'll get into that in my picks. Okay. I know you love the Saints, your boy DC, whatever. We also had the Texans +1.5 in our 5, which I feel like you can maybe do better with your 5. But when you eliminate the 3 Thanksgiving games in the game on Friday, you put yourself in a little bit of a hole. And then the Vikings -3.5. I didn't like it by then. So 1-3-1. Man, that was a tough week. Anything else you got on that?
Well, Joshua Dobbs just had me hook, line, and sinker, and man, did I take the bait. So I got to just relax a little bit. I've been sort of up and down on the Vikings, and maybe not the greatest message to the Anik Squared audience when I'm fading Kevin O'Connell at one point in time, and then I'm anointing him later in the season. It's why I keep going back to the window with the Cleveland Browns, because I like their head coach, even though their quarterback situation is just a complete mess. So one thing that I just wanted to get to off the top, and I think Ron maybe might have a thought on this before we let him go and I improve the audio here with my headset. So oftentimes in the mixed martial arts space, I'm known as being like the pronunciation police, and I'm really not that. We're just trying to get it right. Our producer, Cody Merrill, I think, man, this guy's angry. Have you not eaten today?
No, I've eaten a lot today. I've been eating straight since Thanksgiving.
Cody Merrow oftentimes will be the stale line police on X, because you'll see a lot of people say, hey, man, I got the 49ers -1 at the Eagles. And it's like, yeah, man, where? Where?
Yeah, but Craig Conley, Niner, who was on our show before, he and Bruce Buffer does this too. They buy points all day long. So anytime I question him on a line, buy it up to 170, right?
That was
Yeah.
So Big Ron.
Yeah.
Took away the thunder of the whole.
Yeah. We're not talking about buying points. We're talking about trying to place -110 wagers.
Right. So it's bullshit. Is what it is. They're laying. When did you get that? 3 weeks ago? When the fuck did you get that line?
Or a look ahead line, maybe the week ahead. It is what it is. I'm just saying that Fair now. Enough. And by the way, Big Ron Pellegrino, owner of the Paradise Cantina here in Las Vegas, Nevada. So check it out. 24/7, 365. They never close. So Christmas, Thanksgiving, if you want to see Dominic Cruz, he's probably eating tacos at the Paradise Cantina.
I probably.
But there are 2 bets in our account right now. Do you know what they are?
Future wagers.
2 NFL straight wagers in our shared account. Do you know what they
are? No.
Okay. So I was going through this process today, and there was a line out there, Broncos +4 for week 13 at Houston, that existed, right? It existed on Draftkings Sportsbook, our presenting sponsor, right? It does not exist right now. So I went into our account to see what my bet was on that game, right? To make sure that I didn't, get a number that's maybe better than what we offer up here on the show. So rest assured, right now as we tape here on a Wednesday afternoon, 3:58 p.m. Pacific time, like if Broncos +4 doesn't exist, I'm going to try to give you Broncos +3.5, and if indeed it is one of my 5.
I like that. Appreciate that. So Big Ron does have his YouTube channel out right now, Big Ron Bets. I think you can find it. But Ron, I know you're more of an MMA guy than necessarily an NFL guy. But I also know that you do a lot of your research the day of the event. So if I'm trying to ask Ron about an MMA fight on Friday or Thursday, I'm really not going to get much. So as we sit here, is that correct?
I forgot about the pause. Anyway.
A little, yeah. Little delay here. We're trying to maximize. But so I know it's Wednesday night, but I beg of you, a lean this weekend. You like Bob Font? I mean, a lean somewhere. I know John says this is not a UFC free zone. So UFC back at it this weekend. Any leans for the gambling audience?
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot, Big Ron. I'm biding you time right now.
Okay. No, you don't have to buy me time. Great. So I'm going to buy my own time. And the simple fact that I was just telling him this. I put in a little bit, of course, because I want to know who's fighting and I got to lean somewhere. But, bro, until they make weight, the one thing we got going in the UFC, one thing we could always debate, it doesn't matter till they make weight. It doesn't matter. So, yeah, when you say I put a lot of effort, I don't put it in the day of. I put it as soon as they make weight, the day before. What you guys have to do picking football games on Wednesday for this weekend, bro, I was even telling them I don't even know why I put anyone flat wages and anything ahead of time. I just bet everything in game. You know what I mean? That's the
I hear that.
So.
I mean, the Chicago Bears were ripe on Monday night.
Juicy.
Yeah, no, I do think that in-game wagering, live wagering is the way to go if that is accessible to you in a lot of respects. But I also like trying to beat the number. And I didn't do that, incidentally, on the Broncos at the Texans this weekend. So why don't we get into some selections? And
yeah, we're going to real quick. I'm going to get into
Yeah, what do you got for this guy?
I forgot.
Oh, yeah, give us a play.
I was buying my own time. I mean, not a lot, but if you want to take a dog, I mean, I'll take Benny Dariush plus points. I mean, like, I have no problem. I know our monster. Is it Sarukian?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Herman Sarukian. That kid is next level. He's amazing. But I think Benny, they just forgot the run he was on. And
Benil Dariush, yeah, underdog. And if I were doing a fighter meeting with Benil Dariush, and sorry if I'm interrupting you, Ron, but if I were doing a fighter meeting, I'd ask him, do you like everyone calling you Benny? I don't know how many people call him Benny. Everybody calling this guy Benny. I feel like I heard a floater. He doesn't like Benny. John, you call him Benny. I would ask him in a fighter meeting, what do you like to be called?
Well, I think there was one guy who started that on a UFC telecast. I don't know who it was, but
yeah.
Listen,
all right, quickly.
He looks like a Benny. He seems like a nice guy. Seems like
he's the man.
Nice guy.
He's gold. Gold human being. So the super contest that we do, picking 5 games against the spread, the winner gets $1 million, loser gets 100,000. There is a new leader, 2 Wong 1 Wang. How about that name? 2 Wong 1 Wang. That's right. With a 4-1 gets to 43 and 17. It's tied up at the top, but so he has 43 points, Johnny. But only six guys are above 40 points, right? So us at 32.5, if we hadn't totally shit the bed the last 2 weeks, there was really a fucking opportunity. So we're 32 and a half and 27.5, 32.5 points total, 11.5 games back. After back-to-back 1-3-1s, I look at the board now. We really had a shot, but I don't think you can come back from that combined 3 points total in weeks 11 and 12. Last place, we now have a 3-way tie racing to the $100,000. They all have 19.5 points. Sean's Dolphins, Chuck A. Fox, MD back down there, and Wood Whopper 7. So just fascinating to watch that too, because if you make every pick against the spread and you are the worst, you get 100,000. But the guy in last place probably doesn't want to share last place with a couple other fucking schlubs. Everyone get 33,000. That's like Big Ron at a fucking slot machine winning it every fucking week. Yeah. Anyway, let's get to the picks. So following an NFL team can really be a roller coaster ride. Only 17 games. A lot is always at stake each and every week. These 18 regular season NFL Sundays absolutely are my favorite 18 days of the entire calendar year. We at Anik Squared are here to elevate your game, and to that end, we are happy to announce our partnership with our title sponsor, the ultimate game changer, Draftkings Sportsbook. An official partner of the NFL, Draftkings is excited to bring all new customers an easy way to join in on the action. All customers download the Draftkings app, use our promo code SQUARED, that is SQUARED, bet just $5 and boom, $200 in bonus bets hit your account instantly. So don't wait, get some skin in the game and download the Draftkings app now. Stay in on that action, use your $200 in bonus bets on Draftkings same game parlays. Combine multiple bets together from the same game for a shot at an even bigger payout. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry about it. You can still join in on all the fun with Draftkings Daily Fantasy and have a shot to win cash prizes. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, sign up using promo code SQUARED, and get in on the game. $5 on any wager, and watch as $200 in bonus bets instantly light up your screen. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. All right, so each week on Anik Squared, we pick 5 games against the spread. As I said, go head-to-head against each other. Ultimate goal being to set ourselves up for our joint entry in the Super Contest. One rule being, if John is on a side, I cannot be on that same side. So if he picks the Patriots +6 at home versus the Chargers, I can't be on that same side. So I will say, in the Super Contest, we must do multiple entries next year, whether that's one entry for me, one entry for you, no communication, or there's a little bit of a strategy with multiple entries. But I think we're setting ourselves up to fail when there's only 5 picks, and I just think it's a little bit too challenging with the joint entry.
Yeah, we can take that conversation off the air. But yes, I was talking to Ron today, even for the Survivor. Most of the people, I think, who win this historically have multiple entries. So yes, if you got a bunch of money, man, let me know. It's $1,000 an entry. You got a sponsor?
Yeah. So, all right, before we talk about week 13, I just have to say it is Wednesday. Did you see any of the footage of Aaron Rodgers slinging it at practice today?
So Aaron Rodgers cleared to practice 11 weeks after surgery on that torn Achilles. I'm sure there are varying degrees of Achilles tears. Obviously, this was a progressive surgery. He targets a return on Christmas Eve, I believe, against the Washington Commanders. There's this 20 or 21-day practice window, whatever it is. Does that give the Jets a boost this weekend? I don't know. Given historically how many tickets I've ripped up on that outfit this year, I can't come back to the window. But I do think it stands to reason it could give them a little bit of a lift.
Do you think 8-9 gets you in? I know it's early to ask that.
I think the Carolina Panthers can still host a home playoff game, if I'm not mistaken, at 1-10. So,
whatever. Okay. Moving on. Bye weeks. Week 13. A lot of them. Not a lot of games on the board. Ravens, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings. Vikings need a bye week, huh? And the Giants. So Ravens, Bills, Bears, Raiders, Vikings, Giants, all on a bye. I went 3-2 last week. You went 2-3. Therefore, I have control of the board. I am not going to take the first selection, though. I am going to opt for selections 2 and 3. So I'm going to let you control the board out of the gate. What is your first selection, week 13, in the National Football League picks against the spread?
Joe Flacco, University of Delaware, same institution. My wife attended. Go Blue Hens. I interviewed him in Bristol, Connecticut at ESPN a few days after he was drafted in a closet for ESPN.com, ESPN Digital Media. I don't know if he's starting this weekend. I don't know if it's going to be the questionable Dorian Thompson-Robinson, PJ Walker, also on the depth chart for the Cleveland Browns. But we will lead the dance with the Rams. -3.5, home to the Cleveland Browns. I just have to bet against that Cleveland triumvirate of quarterbacks. Rams can still make the playoffs. My research tells me they have the 11th most difficult remaining schedule. But when I look at it, it doesn't seem all that hard. 42% chance right now to make the playoffs. They're 5-6. So Kyron Williams last week, and I should probably credit my source here, first player in NFL history to have 140 or more rushing yards, 6 or more receptions, 60-plus receiving yards, and 2 or more receiving touchdowns in the same game. I know it's a lot of weird numbers, but nobody had ever done that statistically. A lot of people think this is going to give them a big boost. It certainly did last weekend. Remaining schedule for the Rams at the Ravens, real tough game, but then home to the Commanders, they'll be favored. Home to the Saints, in theory, they would be favored. At the New York Giants, they would be favored, and then they close it out at San Francisco in a game that, in theory, would have huge magnitude. But Cleveland +4 at one point was out there. It went to 3.5. Rams -3.5 to lead my car for week 13.
So my strategy backfired. The first selection on my board, I don't know if you can see it, Rams -3.5.
Well,
it's
outstanding. Outstanding. You've been
so
very
interesting.
confident on today's program. I don't know if it was the compliment off the top. Very confident.
No, just I think I just have a little extra juice seeing you out there in the Virgin. But all right, so I just have to talk about this game a little bit. I moved this from my 5th pick to my 1st pick, and maybe I just got a little cocky and I didn't think you were going to pick it. But I like the Browns at first when I saw the number, because whenever I see 3.5, I think I'm predisposed to like the underdog. But then I'm like, this is a sucker bet. No. Whatever. You talked about the quarterback, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and concussion protocol, whoever it is, Myles Garrett, Amari Cooper, both questionable. And, the Rams have been banged up all year and might be at their healthiest. You talked about Kyron Williams. They've been searching for the right running back in Los Angeles for a while. They had Sony Michel, and a great draft pick of Bill Belichick over his college teammate at Georgia, Nick Chubb. But I digress. So Stafford, 4 touchdown passes last week. He can still sling it. I think is a blowout here. I think the Browns follow up that 29-12 loss at Denver last week with another dud here. I already played the Rams money line in our account. I don't know if you saw that. Anyway, it's not my pick. It's your pick. So I need to move on. My first selection now is a Thursday night game. I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys -8.5 at home versus the Seahawks. Dallas has outscored their opponents in the last 3 games, 127-37. That's 30 points a game. I think they're going to be a real problem for the Eagles and or the 49ers this postseason, even though both of those teams have beat the Cowboys. Seahawks to me are going in a different direction. They've lost 2 in a row, 3 of 4. Like they are who I thought they were, right? Like you know what I mean? I always like this team. I know they made the postseason last year, but I didn't expect much out of the Seahawks. 49ers beat them up at home last week. Quick turn to Dallas. Then you go at San Francisco. I know the players all love Pete, but are they all still like all in? And the Cowboys schedule. You talked about, the Rams not having the most daunting schedule. The Cowboys have the Eagles coming in next week, followed by at Bills, at Dolphins. 2 very tough games on the road. The Bills are going to need to win. The Dolphins are going to be playing for a lot. I think Dallas needs to handle their business Thursday night. Therefore, I think they win by double digits. My first selection, the Cowboys, -8.5. Moving on to my second selection, if you don't mind. The Saints pissed me off so much last week, I have to go against them this week. I'm going with the Lions -4 at the Saints. And I heard the very capable Joe Osborne, brilliant handicapper, works for Covers, talk about he didn't really like the money line for the Lions. He could maybe see someone playing, but he doesn't like the value in the money line for the Lions, which gave me a little bit of pause, but I do like them. A little bit of extra time, really disappointing loss at home on Thanksgiving. I just think they get that taste out of their mouth at Thanksgiving. No pun intended. I just think they get the taste out of their mouth against an inferior opponent. I don't trust Derek Carr. I can't believe they were in our 5 picks last week. You said the Saints D was the best unit on the field against Atlanta last week. Yeah, you're right, but not good enough when Derek Carr throwing a pick, instead of a touchdown, return the other way. And for Detroit, that NFC North is sneaky tough for me. They get the Bears next week, they have the 3rd best defense against the run. That's a little tricky. I just think the Lions need to beat the Saints here. They need to be focused on running the ball. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, probably the best running back tandem in football. The Saints are better against the pass. They're not that good against the run. I'm a little worried about Goff, been turning it over a little bit. They got to protect him. He's got to protect the football, but I think the Lions find a way to win the game. So I will eat the 4 points, Lions -4, my second selection. I believe Cam Jordan and Lattimore are out as well. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, 2 straight for me. I will go with the Broncos +3.5 at Houston. Perhaps you thought this was coming. I wish I had 4, but the bet I have in my account is Broncos +3.5. So that's what it will be. So Denver has won 5 in a row. Russ Wilson on the season, 20 touchdown passes, 4 interceptions, a rating of 103.4. Now, as a sports fan, a fanatic, I'm not a big Russell Wilson fan, but you got to give the man his flowers. 0 picks during this 5-fight winning streak. That is the longest in the NFL. Cortland Sutton, right? I mean, do they still do the Pro Bowl? Because if they do, he's going. He catches everything thrown his way, makes a ton of plays. I expect a competitive game here. Obviously, I'm getting the key number +3.5. I think you are starting to see some growing pains the last few weeks from C.J. Stroud. He was very good against Jacksonville overall. I don't think Houston's going to be able to run the ball here. I do expect a close game through the key number, as I mentioned. And you got a Broncos team that's just playing with a tremendous amount of purpose here. So Broncos country +3.5 at Houston. Let us ride.
Before you make your next selection, let us ride. It's Broncos country. Let's ride.
I know it's let us ride.
Yeah, I know.
I was actually going to be like Broncos country. Let's keep it going. Because
the irony is, right? I've seen you do a lot of commercial takes, for DraftKings. And I will say, Russ Wilson getting a lot of heat for that, but I'm sure the directors liked what he gave them, right? He was giving them a lot of different versions of the Broncos country. Let's ride,
right?
Yes. and then hard with the let's ride. You know what I mean? Give it a lot. But anyway, I had let's ride in my 5 as well. But so I got to talk about it a little bit. I love the Texans. I just can't stay away from Sean Payton and Russell Wilson here. So you alluded to them winning 5 straight. I don't believe you talked about their schedule for the Broncos. It's not that daunting down the stretch. This is the first of 3 consecutive games on the road. They have the Patriots at home, 2 against the Chargers. They go at the Raiders, at the Lions. Playoffs, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. This team gave up 70 points one week against the Dolphins. They were 1-5. They're not thinking about covering that 3.5, but they're thinking about winning the game. So I'll take those 3.5. I couldn't be more with you. The Texans, just a couple points. They gave up 445 yards last week against Jacksonville. They couldn't get off the field. And I think for Russell Wilson in Denver to not be seeing Myles Garrett and that Cleveland front has to be kind of nice. I think they have a great chance to win the game outright. I had to get in on that before you move on.
Objectively terrible job by you managing the board because you sound so convicted on the Rams and the Broncos. You got all this information and neither one of them are in your 5. As we move along to my third selection, you knew it was coming. 49ers minus 2.5 at Philadelphia. First of all, Jake Elliott, NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. You're goddamn fucking right, you hoss. You absolute savage, Jake Elliott. You alpha male, Jake Elliott, 59-yard field goal. That kick cost us, of course, a win in the Super Contest, couple $100 on the Bills' money line. But what a leg and what a big game player. I mean, I think that guy can be weaponized in the playoffs almost as much as Philadelphia's ability to run in short yardage situations. Here, though, very simple handicap, Jay. I like San Francisco. I don't know if I would go so far as to say the Eagles are due for a loss, but they have won a lot of close games. Jalen Hurts did look pretty healthy this past week. But you do have schedule situation-wise extra time to prepare for the San Francisco 49ers, who had a big win in a non-competitive game on Thanksgiving Day. Any chance San Francisco has of locking down the number 1 seed comes down to this game. Some may be surprised they're road favorites. I'm kind of just picking them to win a football game. 2.5 can be had. DraftKings Sportsbook, many other places. So I will pound that. 49ers minus 2.5, Brock Purdy, and the Niners get it done. And there'll be a play for me in week 13.
You are going against the Eagles for the 3rd straight week. Again, hedging your NFC ticket of the Eagles plus 340. You just keep hedging it. Love seeing Big Ron in the background. You can
this
keep fucking walking by.
One of the calendar games of the year, right? So, yeah, I mean, maybe I thought I could get minus 1.5 or minus 2, but obviously it's going in the other direction, right? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Philadelphia plus 3 and you found that to be appetizing. This team finds ways to win. I forget who it was on national radio who was comparing Jalen Hurts to Tom Brady. It's gotten to a point where late in the game, you expect him to come down and score a touchdown. You're expectant that he's going to rally his team. And honestly, they were almost talking late in the game as if it was an eventuality that Philadelphia was going to come down and be able to score the football. So, props to Jalen Hurts and for them getting out of the chute 10-1 or whatever they are. But most people out there, the 49ers, ubiquitously regarded as the best team in football right now, minus 2.5. I'll take them this week.
My third selection. Falcons minus 2.5 at the Jets. This is a bet against the Jets. It's not a bet on the Falcons. I'm going against the Jets. So we mentioned Rodgers is practicing. Unless he plays, and honestly, I wouldn't rule anything out at this point, but I know he's not playing. But I just can't see him scoring enough points to keep up.
He's not playing until Christmas Eve at the earliest.
They thought, I don't trust anything. I hear you.
No, that's the facts of the situation.
Fine. He's not, I don't think he's going to play it all this season. But unless he plays, I don't think they score enough points to keep up with anyone. Maybe they keep up with the Patriots, but nobody else. So the Falcons, big home win against the Saints last week. I like the offensive weapons. Bijan Robinson got going. Drake London, I've talked about him on this show before. It's a fucking animal. Falcons at 5-6, not out of it. Jets at 4-7 do feel out of it for me. And I think there's more pressure with Aaron Rodgers out there at practice. There's so much. They need to win to be somewhat relevant for him to be able to come back. They have no business even having 4 wins. I think they're going to lose their 4th straight game here, and I think they blow out the candle on any potential glimmer of hope that Aaron Rodgers comes back. You go to 4-8. I mean, what are we doing here? It's a huge. I wouldn't even have him on the practice field. If he's playing next year, Aaron, go hang out with Jamal Hill in Michigan and give it some more rest on the Achilles. Jamal Hill, light heavyweight champion in the UFC that tore his Achilles as well. I don't love Atlanta. I've said it, but I think they have enough on both sides of the ball to get a win here in East Rutherford. Shouldn't be too much weather, but a little bit of rain, which may give me pause come Sunday. But my third selection, Falcons minus 2.5 at the Jets. I'm going to move on to my 4th selection unless you want to talk about that game.
I got nothing to say.
All right. So my 4th selection, and I am scrambling because you did steal a couple of my picks. My 4th selection.
I didn't steal anything. You mismanaged the board in week 13. Just acknowledge as much to the listenership. You lied to them last week about your Thanksgiving.
I did. Moving on.
Oh, we got him, Cody Merrow. You see that? God, it's just deer in the headlights. Nothing. player one wins.
My fourth selection, and this is reluctant. Shout out Scott Wetzel back in the day with the opposite picks. This is a little bit of an opposite pick. I'm going to go with the Chiefs -6 at the Packers.
I love it.
I love Jordan Love. And I think he could be incredible if he can be consistent at some point in his career. I wanted to play the Packers, but I feel like Sunday night, I'm going to like Mahomes, and the Chiefs even against the Raiders, right? Like down 14-0, then they close a game on a 31-3 run. I just think by Sunday, my opinions change from midweek to Sunday. Every single week, multiple games where I don't feel the same way. So I'm sort of trying to envision Sunday night. I believe it's a Monday night. I think it's a Sunday night game. I just think by that point, I'm going to like the Chiefs at that number 6. I think I don't like teasing them as much because I think if Jordan Love plays well and is up for this challenge, I think it could be a back and forth game. But I think the Chiefs, over the years, they have a lot on defense too, which I think can be problematic for young quarterbacks. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs as my fourth selection. It was an alternate selection moved up. Chiefs -6 at the Packers, my fourth pick.
When I'm handicapping the Chiefs, I'm trying to think about that defense and not just think about the offense, right? They got down 14-0 and still won the game last week and covered going away. So I think I get to close it out with a couple here. We will take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, laying 5 points, home to the Carolina Panthers. Stays with a trend, a theme of fading bad teams at this point in time. More on that in a moment. So will the Panthers get a lift from the firing of Frank Reich? Do you believe that in some way this will be a benefit to them in Week 13? Maybe, but I guess I'm more focused on the Tampa Bay side of the handicap. Baker Mayfield's playing hard, man. Like, I'm not saying that he's top 18 in the NFL, but I'm just telling you, when you have a competitor who is a good leader, it really counts for something. His ankle is busted, so hopefully he plays. This play is sort of contingent upon him playing. But anything up to 6.5 for me on Tampa Bay is a play. In division scares me a little bit. These teams are going to play twice in the next 6 weeks. So this here is the first meeting between Carolina and Tampa Bay this year. But I like the Bucs to move to 5-7, and I will swallow the 5 points there. And unless you have anything further, I will move on to my final selection.
On that game, certainly not.
So alternate for me would be Monday Night Football, the Jaguars -8.5. Still a short sample size on Jake Browning, the backup quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, who will play the balance of this season with Joe Burrow on the mend. I still think the Bengals are going to play hard, but I would lean towards the Jacksonville side. Thankfully, I don't have to go to my alternates because our 5 remained intact. So this has moved a little bit today. Chargers -5.5 at New England. So, I'm a play-by-play voice for the UFC, and Adam Shine is one of my radio idols in a lot of respect, and I'm getting booked on national radio shows to talk about Mac Jones and the Patriots' futility. Now, earlier in the program, you said sort of the anti-Mac Jones fan club, and that's a mischaracterization. I just didn't think that this was a good draft pick. I didn't support the player. I didn't think he was going to put in the requisite work, maybe in terms of pliability and strength and conditioning, to be totally married to the game, to just do everything in your power to be the best version of yourself you can be. And it's hard. He's young. Like, I do think that maybe if the work ethic memo got to some of these players before they turned 25, they wouldn't necessarily be these first-round NFL quarterback busts. But Justin Herbert is still top 7, top 8 in the NFL. And I don't even think Brandon Staley can screw this up. Bill Belichick is calling these games very conservatively. That played into the Giants handicap for us a week ago. And I'll be looking to fade the Patriots every chance I get. I forget who they have in week 14, but I'm salivating on that line as well. Again, a pretty simple process for me this week, at least in terms of fading some of these bad teams, right? And yet money's coming in on New England. Give me the Chargers -5.5. They go into Gillette Stadium and win by, I don't know if it's going to be 10, but 7 or more to be sure.
The Chargers just can't get it together. They're not healthy. If the Patriots ran the ball 95% of the time, there was a game way back in the day, they won at Buffalo. Mac Jones had 3 pass attempts, right? You do something like that. So the Chargers go win by like the idea of the Chargers winning a football game by a touchdown and laying any points is never appealing to me. And I think the Patriots at home, I don't know, man. I would be on the other side of that game, but it doesn't matter. Not my 5.
Well, that's fine. And ultimately, Here on Anik Squared, you asked me for 5 selections, and that is my 5th and final play of the week. We thought about the Jaguars. We also have the Cowboys -8.5 here written down against the Seattle Seahawks. I do think Geno Smith is, not healthy. Even if he's not your cup of tea, I don't know that he's healthy. So Thursday night, it's hard to swallow a big number, but we'd be aligned there. But yeah, that's the 5 for me. Rams -3.5, Broncos +3.5, 49ers -2.5, Buccaneers -5, and the Chargers -5.5 at New England.
My 5th selection is an alternate selection that will be moved up to the 5th selection. And I'm going to go against you. And I did see that number with 3 points for the Eagles at home. The Eagles are getting 3 points at home against the 49ers. I love the 49ers, don't get me wrong. But the Eagles should not be an underdog at home, given everything they've accomplished this year. I understand maybe people are like, oh, they're not as good as their record. Well, they should be a 3-point favorite at home. I'll take the 3 points. No respect, man. And I probably would buy the 0.5 point. Like it's very appetizing to me to buy the Eagles up to 3.5. I do think this is going to be a competitive football game. The Eagles do a good job gaming for their opponent, and I think they're going to be ready for this particular opponent on this night. So my 5th selection, I know you have 49ers -2.5. I will take the 3 with the Eagles as my 5th selection. What are you doing on the Selly?
I'm just showing you right now, DraftKings Sportsbook, the 49ers -2.5, juice to -118, Eagles +2.5, -102. So there will be 2.5s, there will be 3s, there will be points purchased and everything else. But yeah, I guess we'll be divided on that game. Maybe we'll do sort of a side wager of some kind.
So it'll be interesting to see if the 2 games that we were aligned on that you bumped me off of, the Rams -3.5 versus the Browns and the Broncos +3.5 versus at the Texans. It'd be interesting if we still like those games and those end up in our 5 on Sunday. Actually, I don't know. I might convince you to play a Thursday night game, but just to sum up my 5, Cowboys -8.5 Thursday night versus the Seahawks, Lions -4 at the Saints, Falcons -2.5 at the Jets, Chiefs -6 at the Packers, and Eagles +3 versus the 49ers. Anything else from you?
No, thanks to everybody for supporting the show. Very excited to see how this week unfolds. Thanks to our producer, of course, Cody Merrill, putting up with some of the technical stuff today and humoring me, getting Big Ron on the program at the outset. And yeah, I mean, still diving into the handicap every week for you folks, putting in the time, and hopefully it's reflective at the window.
For the great Jon Anik, and you alluded to our man at the helm, Cody Merrow, Ronnie Pellegrino, we appreciate you joining us today. My name is Jason Anik. We will see you next week on Anik Squared. We appreciate you joining us. Have a good night, day, wherever you're at.